guys, it is Aoife from Fred We See Died Laughing, and I'm here with another weekly wrap up. So I am in a different location this week. I am up in Donegal, which means I do not have my bookshelves behind me, and I am also at a weird kind of filming angle, so I do apologise for that. But I'll get straight on into it. I had a really bad reading week at the start of the week, and then it picked up a lot at the end of the week, so I can't wait to tell you everything that I read. And I will start off with The Blind by A.F. Brady, which I'm actually not going to talk too much about because I do have a full video review of this, which I will leave linked somewhere above below. And if you want to know more about that, you can click into it. But this is kind of a psychological thriller about a psychiatrist who works in a psychiatric unit in a hospital, and it's basically where her life is kind of falling apart, and she meets this patient who everyone thinks is insane, but she doesn't think is insane, and it's kind of how he kind of gets into her head a little bit. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, and I did really enjoy it, and I do have my full video review of it, where I go into more about why I enjoyed it and the bits I didn't like about it, so please do go and check that out if you want to. So the second book I read this week was The Ministry of Happiness by Arundhati Roy. This is a book that was longlisted for the Man Booker Prize, and I think I did talk about this briefly in a library haul that I did, where I talked about how much I was really looking forward to this book, because I kept seeing it in the bookstore and it just kept it was just speaking to me for some reason, and I was really looking forward to actually reading it and see what I thought of it. And I absolutely hated it. I just did not get on with this book. I just thought it was really boring. I just didn't connect with any of the characters. The first part of this book is enjoyable. I did like it, and that part was about this character who was born with both male and female genitals, but when they are a teenager realizes they want to live life as a female, and kind of goes through a whole transition period and becomes really, really famous. There's like a specific Indian word that is used where it's kind of like, it's not really like the character doesn't really identify themselves as being transgender. There's this different word. It's kind of like he crab or something. It's something around like that. First part of the story, the first 3 or 4 chapters focused on them, and then the second part of the book focused on someone completely different, and I was so confused about why this person suddenly showed up and why we were suddenly getting this completely different point of view and learning about all these other characters that seemingly had nothing to do with the character we had just learned about. And it took a really, really long time for their stories to connect, and then there was just so much that wasn't to do with any of the characters at all, and was just to do about India and kind of civil unrest in India, and a lot of stuff to do with Kashmir, and a lot of the kind of disputes around Kashmir, which I think is in India. I'm not really sure, but it's a lot of to do with history, Indian history, and civil unrest in India, and all these kind of disputes around different things in India. And this book is recent. I will say that this isn't a book set in the past. It's set in the very recent past, 2000. There's the parts where they discuss watching the Twin Towers on TV, and it spans all the way up to that, where people are using WhatsApp and stuff like that. So it's only in the last few years. Yeah, I just didn't enjoy it. I really did skim read the very end of it because I was just so done with the book by then, and I give it a 1.5 out of 5 stars because I really didn't enjoy it. The next book I read was a YA kind of thriller, and it was Stags. I can't actually remember the name of the author, but I will put that down below. I'm using my phone to film at the moment because, as you guys know, my camera is broken, so I can't check that out, and I don't have internet up here, so I don't have my laptop to check that out quickly. So yeah, I will have everything below, all the names of authors and stuff, but I do remember the names of the books. I just don't remember the name of the authors. So the book was called Stags. A young girl called Greer who goes to this really kind of fancy boarding school, and she is invited to this kind of weekend away after a few months at this boarding school and being very isolated. She doesn't have any friends. She ends up being invited to this weekend away by these people called the Medievals, and they're kind of like the it crowd in school. They're the ones everyone wants to be and everyone wants to be a part of, and it's 3 boys and 3 girls, and they're really, 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 really rich, really kind of old school money, and they invite Greer and these 2 other students to go on this weekend trip to one of their family's estates, and basically what they're going to be doing is they're going to be hunting, shooting and fishing, and it kind of ends up turning into this a different kind of trip than what they thought, where their lives end up being in danger and someone ends up dead at the end of the book, and you have kind of Greer telling you what is happening, how she kind of got roped into this trip, and how this person ended up dead. And I mean, there was parts of this that I did really enjoy. I liked the whole setting of the school. I liked the medievals. But there were also parts of this that I did not enjoy. I'm not sure if anyone, I did actually tweet something, a page of this book while I was reading it. It was the fact that Greer keeps using the word feminist in all these different ways during this book, where she's like chiding herself for thinking these things and telling herself because she's thinking these things she's a bad feminist. Like at one point she was admiring this this boy that she's really attracted to, and she was admiring how good looking he was, and then she goes, oh, some feminist, Greer. And I'm like, you can be a feminist and like admire a good looking boy at the same time. Like, being a feminist doesn't mean you're not allowed to think someone is attractive, like physically. I don't know, I really didn't like the way, and it happened a few times, it wasn't just that one time, there was a few times where the word feminist was used in this weird kind of way where that's not what feminist means. And I just felt like it was just a bad, examples. And if like young girls are reading this and didn't really know what feminist means, then they're like, well, I don't want to be a feminist if that means that I can't be attracted to men that I like. And it's just like, well, that's not what it means. So I just didn't really enjoy that, and I just thought that was sloppy on the author's part. There are a lot of cultural references in this book, like there's talks about, like, she mentioned Mean Girls, she mentioned The Princess Diaries, she mentioned Twilight, she mentioned some other kind of older movies, and while I think that's okay now and again in a book, I don't think it was a little bit too constant for me in this one. And I think it also kind of dates the book a little bit when they're mentioning all these movies. I think people are going to make the Mean Girl comparison anyway, like between the medievals, this really cool group that everyone wants to be in and they're a little bit mean, that they're going to compare that to the Mean Girls anyway, so we don't need the author or the character to explain that to us anyway. I gave it I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads, but I think really this is a 2.5 stars for me. The next video I read was The Misadventures of a City Girl by, I think the author's called Meredith Wild, but I'm not sure. That'll be down below. And this is basically a new adult / erotic novel that I just got off NetGalley. It's basically about this girl called Madison who goes to this retreat in these mountains to basically get over this really horrible divorce that she's gone through, and she meets this really hot guy and they just get it on, like literally straight away. Like, he's in there literally and figuratively, like they just see each other and just start going for it, and that's basically all they do for the rest of the book. And like, this was okay, like it was fluff. I didn't have to think about the story. After having a few books where I hadn't been completely crazy about them, I just wanted something to like kind of almost, one of those books that just kind of wipes the slate clean for the next book, and this was one of those kind of books for me. It was one of those kind of just transitional books. I gave this like a 3 stars, and I did enjoy it, but like obviously completely unrealistic. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was, which was just a bit of fun reading. The next book I read was a TBR jar pick from a couple of months ago. As you guys have probably guessed, I'm already way behind my TBR jar again, so I'm just trying to get through them before all the ones I have waiting before I pick out any more. It was actually pretty good and I actually really enjoyed it, and it's set in kind of the 1800s, about 1809, and it's about this young woman who disappears from her family's kind of mansion, I guess, but the door was locked from the inside and people can't figure out how she just disappeared from this room. And this detective called Detective Lavender comes to investigate it, and he ends up finding out all this other weird stuff about the family and how they're not all they seem, and it kind of goes from there. And I just really enjoyed it. I just thought the mystery was really good. I was really guessing the entire time. I did eventually get to what had happened, but I did really enjoy getting there myself. And I just really enjoyed the characters, and it was just a really nice, pleasant read, and one that I wasn't expecting to like, which made it even nicer that I ended up liking it. So I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I think I would go on and read more of this series because there's 3 or 4 books out, and yeah, I think I would enjoy them. So I will probably get them if I see them again cheap on Kindle. I'll probably pick them up. The last book I finished today, and that was The Room by the Lake by Emma Dibdin, and this is a book I got off NetGalley as well. This is like a thriller novel, and it's about this young woman who travels from London to New York a while after her mother dies. Her father's an alcoholic and she's basically just escaping everything. She just wants to kind of go somewhere completely new, and she ends up completely alone in New York. Meets this guy called Jake, and they kind of become kind of really intimate very fast, and after a while he invites her to his family. by this lake house, and she goes with him, and it turns out that they're not his actual family. They're like his kind of family by choice, and they're kind of like this commune of people who all help each other out. Like it's basically a cult, and she ends up getting like sucked into it, and before she knows it, she is just like completely sucked into this commune of people living their ways, enamored by the group leader, who is kind of like a therapist, and she like almost like can't live life without him. She always needs his like kind of his say so and everything. But then a lot of other things for her aren't adding up. She is like memory loss. She is afraid that she is her mother had a mental illness, and she starts thinking that maybe she might be having that as well, and there's just all sorts of crazy stuff happening to her, and she has to figure out what's going on basically. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was I think this is a debut novel, and it's really, really well written. I was really, really pleasantly surprised by how well written this was. I just really enjoy cult thrillers. I just really enjoy seeing how cults are written by different people, and particularly how the cult leader is written, because I just think it's amazing how authors have this ability to make these people completely charismatic and completely normal, and where like you as a reader are almost going to be like, well, like they're not that bad, like they're all right, where you can completely see why someone would fall into line behind this person. And I think the way Emma Dibdin wrote Dawn, who was like the kind of leader in this case, he was written really, really well, and I just really enjoyed this book, and I think it'd be a really good read for people, especially coming up to Halloween, but even in November, kind of those darker months, and people who like culty kind of books would really enjoy this, because like there's parts of it where it's almost like just like a health and fitness camp, because they're like really into like the paleo diet, really, really into fitness, going to all these like crazy hikes and like boot camps and stuff. So like all of that makes it seem really, really normal, but like there's all these little things where like it's not that normal, and I just love reading that and love being like, what is going on? So yeah, I did really, really enjoy this, and I do recommend it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So that's everything I read this week. So it started out quite bad, but it ended up turning into a better week, thank God. Please let me know what you guys read. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.